Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode number 251 of the smack we call Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like CNet smacks out of CES. Smacked it right out of there. We're going to talk about a lot of cool things, including NES controller tables. Huh? Hello? That's pretty cool. Yeah. We're going to talk. What else are we talking? We're talking about a whole bunch of stuff. We're talking about the big problem at Applebees and the social media issues that it caused. Of course, we're talking about that FCC thing that actually wasn't true and all that other stuff. So let's get into this week. We're brought to you by our friends at Wirecast. Go over to geekazine.com/Wirecast PC for the PC version or Wirecast Mac for the Mac version.
This is the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages. I'm kind of changing that up there. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for coming to the show. We call Geek Smack the show where we smack the geek out of you like we smack the geek out of everything that's happening at CES. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how CNet was this nice little pristine thing, and now it's turned into this Wicked Witch of the West. It's kind of sad, but hey, things happen. It's all about a hopper. I just like saying hopper. It's all about the hopper. Not really the hopper, but we'll talk about that. And of course, we've got a lot of great news. If this is the first time that you've come to the show, well, guess what? You've come for the inaugural 251st episode. What does that mean? Well, simply put, that means that we've changed things up. It was that time where it's like, okay, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do another thing? And the reason why is this. Last night, I was on the Podcasters Roundtable with Ray Ortega, Daniel J. Lewis, Dave Jackson, and a fourth person that name's escaping me. He does an Andy Griffith podcast, which is really cool. So the question that was asked was, what do you owe to your audience in podcasting, whether it be in a video podcast or an audio podcast? And since I do both, you know that I owe two audiences here. So we talked about what do you owe your audience? And my answer simply, when it was all said and done, was you bring yourself to the table, and if people like you, they will show up and they will listen to you. They will watch you. They will mock you. They will, because and haters are going to come and they're going to hate. Haters are going to hate, but sometimes haters become your best fans. So it's about an hour-long discussion over there. I'll have the link in the show notes. You should check it out, especially if you're into podcasting or getting into podcasting, or you like me doing this thing right here with my hands. It's like I'm walking forward. I'm coming to you. Anyway, so I bring that question to you now. Are you getting everything that you expect from Geek Smack? Are you like wondering what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, so on and so forth, what I should change, what you think I should do? Should I grow hair? Should I lose hair? I do have the biggest beard in social media podcasters today, so that's going for me right there. So what should I change? What should I do? This is your chance to talk back to me, and there's many ways to do it. We have the Twitter handle right there, Geekazine. Think magazine, put in a geek, you got Geekazine. A-zine. So, and then of course, geekazine@gmail.com. The hotline, 608-205-4378. I do listen to it and go from there. And then on the webpage, there's also a little thing from that you can actually go and send a voicemail right from your computer. It only takes about 30 seconds, what you like, what you don't like, so on and so forth. So I pose that to you, your chance to speak, let me know. Also, hey, I'm recording another HP TechCast on Thursday with Calvin Zito. That will be up on Friday. I thank you very much for being very helpful in checking out some of the CES content. There's a lot more videos to come, but I'm going to try and get up as quick as possible so we can move on, because South by Southwest is coming right around the corner, and there's going to be different videos. And of course, I do have the podcast going South by Southwest. That's going, GoinSXSW.com. You can go there And we're going to do another podcast on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. We do it every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can join in if you're going to South by Southwest and talk about the events that are going on there. Because we got a lot of cool events, a lot of cool news to talk about with South by Southwest. All right, I think that's it for this part. Let's get into your tech smack for today. All right, Tech Smack is brought to you by our friends over at Dyn, DNS. And you want faster internet, right? You want your websites to go quicker. You want to make sure your DNS provider doesn't go down, or you have a secondary DNS provider to pick up the pieces if things do go down. That's where Dyn.com comes in. DYN.com comes in. With outsourced DNS, you can make sure people can get to your websites. And with managed DNS, you can even connect items like webcams and DVRs through private channels that you can pull from at any time. If your business relies on that content list of yours, then Dyn's email solutions can get your message to clients and customers and even take it off your website so you can actually speed up your website in other ways. You can send secure email, bulk email, and set up high volume mailboxes right on Dyn's delivery service. Most important, we're in the middle of the switch to IPv6, and Dyn is right on top of that. You can check that all out, and there's so much more. They've got 40 million users, cannot be wrong. Companies like Netflix and Twitter use Dyn's services. So check it out there. It's simple. Get faster internet by using Dyn for DNS. That's visit dyn.com, dyn.com /podcast30 and fill out the contact form, or simply just shop. And then when you're getting ready to check out, use that podcast code podcast30, the promo code podcast30. That's all over at dyn.com /podcast30. All right, let's get into your tech smack for today. And let me just switch this up really quick. We did that. We're going to start over at Reuters. Reuters, I love saying Reuters. And the big news is last night Dell got together and they said, should we go private? Should we go private? It's something that Michael Dell has wanted to do for since 2010, basically. He's looking at the market and going, this is a very fluctuating market. We could be $30 a share, then we could be down to $13 a share, then we could be up to $50 a share. We're seeing Apple doing a nosedive right now. Was it getting close to $700 a share, and now it's at $450 a share. That's crazy. So Michael Dell says we need to privatize. We can do a little bit more if we privatize. So basically last night he bought 50% of shares. Now, does that make Dell go private? No, not yet. What they've got to do is they've got to have a shareholder meeting. And in that shareholder meeting, everybody gets to vote. Do we go private or do we stay public? So right now, all they did was $24.4 billion deal for Michael Dell to get 50% of the share. So the chances of them actually going private, the probability is pretty high. The possibility, neither high nor low, but the probability is very high. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations to Michael Dell. Hopefully Dell, which is right now number 3 PC maker behind Lenovo and was it HP or no? I think it's Lenovo and Apple actually. So if he can make it happen by privatizing, then go for it. All right, all you fans of Stickum, you probably saw this in the mail. Thank you and farewell. We were here. We did this. Actually, you were here. You did this. Stickum was about you and not about us. And after 7 wonderful years, we're incredibly sad to have to say goodbye. It happened on July 30th, I think it was. Stickum decided to put up the message that they would be closing Stickum down. And of course, on February 1st, they closed Stickum down. You can still access your data if you are with Stickum. You can still access your data and get it off their servers. You have until the end of February to do it. February 28th. There is no February 29th. There's only February 28th. And with that, you'll have a chance to get your stuff off of the Stickum servers and get them onto somewhere else. But that's pretty big. And there's a lot of question of why did Stickum fail? Where did it go wrong? Stickum was part of Tumblr, and Tumblr was part of Twitter, and Twitter just invested in Vine. Now, a lot of people say that, no, I don't think Stickum closed because Vine showed up. And that may be true, that may not be true. I don't know. That's just a speculation. That's just a thought. If you've got two video companies, why do you hold on to two video companies? I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing either that or they just ran out of money. We'll find out as time goes by. But so sad. Goodbye to Stickum. If you're part of Stickum community, you've got to get your videos off of Stickum as soon as possible, and go from there. All right. If you need that was right on their page. Of course, if you want to see that link, go to the show notes. All right, let's go over to Forbes.com, and what we're doing differently with Geek Smack now is we're actually mixing in the geek with the tech. So we're going to do this. We're over at Forbes. Check this out. It's called the Amigo. I like to say it like Amigo bracelet. It's available for pre-order, and it detects detailed activity. And you're going, what? What do you mean by detailed activity? Well, like if you have a Fitbit Flex, if you have a Core 2 by Body Media, you can take and put that into Amigo and then wear the bracelet instead of having all these devices on your utility belt. So it's a fun little thing. Like I said, they've gone past their Kickstarter goal of 90,000. Or I'm sorry, not Kickstarter, Indiegogo. They got about $200,000. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as time goes on. But it's just basically one bracelet to rule them all there. So if you want to check out more, go over to Forbes.com. All right, let's move on here. This is kind of sad. This is over on news.com.au, Australia. So we'll talk with an Australian accent. Those blokes over at the United States, they know how the Applebees go. Applebees, I don't know if you've seen this on the news. There was a large table, and one of them was a pastor at the table. And what happened was when you go over 6 people, there is an instant gratuity that's added to every ticket. And so the pastor knocked out the gratuity and turned it to a 0. And basically said, I give God 10%. Why don't you get 18%? And then took no tip on it. And then, of course, she signed her name on it, which the person at Applebee's was so upset that they took a picture and put it up on Reddit, and it went viral. Now, the reason why that person then turned around and got fired by Applebee's was because the pastor's name was put into the picture. And I kind of agree on that. That's a privacy. That's with credit cards. However, first of all, the pastor technically cannot do that. I mean, they could cross it out if they want to. But the gratuity, I think, automatically goes in. Now, they've refunded the pastor her money. And like I said, they fired the employee. But it's caused a bigger problem in social media because they haven't been handling it correctly. In fact, they got to the point where they were throwing up their policy pages up on Facebook, kind of defending themselves, and everybody kind of go, wait, what? No, this is wrong. So big PR nightmare out of this whole thing. And a lot of people are even saying, your social media person should probably be nixed because they don't know what the heck they're doing. Get it under control, and they can get it under control if they do it right. Now, Applebee's has been actually doing pretty good, not as much on the social media end, but on the marketing end altogether with their commercials and their social media for that matter. This turned everything all around, and it's kind of an amazing little story. I'm not happy with the pastor. I think if you go into a restaurant and you have 6 people, expect to pay the gratuity in the bill. It's just the way it is. It's been the way since 70s. I don't know. As long as I've been going to restaurants, I've seen a gratuity over 6 or 8 people, and it depends on what the restaurant chooses. And they can't just cross it off and say, no, I'm not going to pay that. So, and just the fact that she's also a pastor, it just kind of blows my mind that she's not willing to give a employee that's making less than minimum wage and works on tips, no tip. I think I'd be more appalled on that. Anyway, you can comment on it, weigh in on it. Let me know. Geekazine is the Twitter, and of course, geekazine@gmail.com. All right, Hey, if you are a fan of the Avengers, then you know that Joss Whedon is trying to make Shield, which is a TV show for, I believe, ABC. Well, they gave us a sneak peek at the new show Shield. Not this picture right here. This is just over on blaster.com. It's a YouTube video, and if you scroll down here, you'll actually see the sneak peek. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not much, but if you're a big fan, you want to find out what's going on with Shield, go over to blaster.com. We'll have the links in the show notes so you can get there and be amazed. All right, let's move on from there. Let's go over to The Verge. Speaking of disgruntled employees, this is actually really interesting. A disgruntled employee spends basically 3 years destroying computers. And his name is Edward Sobolowski, I believe. And he just basically worked with a British company, and they kind of pissed him off. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to do something to your system. So basically, what he did was he was spraying cleaning agent into the computers. Well, I'm guessing while they were turned off or something like that. So getting these cleaning fluids basically over the course of 3 years, and of course they start eating into the motherboards and causing problems. In all reality, they cause more than problems, because if there's any mercury in the motherboard, which a lot of motherboards have, then they could actually release some of these harmful chemicals and get into the people's lungs, the employees' lungs. So I think they should do a lot more to him than just sentence him to 8 months in jail and pay $16,000, or well, £10,000 is basically what it was. So, but he basically did that. He did that from 2009 to 2012, and that is not the way to get back. Well, there's no way. There should be no way that you get back at a company that decides to either slap you down or give you a write-up or whatever they do. The only way to do it is legally, and that's not legal. And like I said, those cleaning agents could actually end up harming employees. So not too happy about that. But if you want to read more on that, go over to theverge.com. All right. For all you iPods, how many of us have slept with our iPhones, our iPads, our iPods on the corner of the bed? Right? Well, now you can sleep with your iPod in a different way. This is the iPod Touched theme bedding. Of course, you can't change the icons, and you can't turn it off. So if it's too bright, then that's too bad. But it's over. I don't know. I make I make myself laugh sometimes. Excuse me. But if you want this iPod Touch timed bedding, it's about $49. You can get it available over at elos.com. And of course, like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes, so go over to the show notes and go from there. All right, let's move on from there. This is really interesting. Rupert Murdoch is selling IGN websites to Ziff Davis. Now, if you know anything about Rupert Murdoch, you know he's this weird, codgery, eccentric dude that says, I want news, but I don't want the internet. I don't want this free internet stuff that's happening. I want closed walls. So he basically has gotten tired of IGN, I guess, and decided, hey, it's time. Let's get rid of it. So he sold it for less than $100 million to News Corp. Or I'm sorry, it was sold less than $100 million to News Corp. So basically they gained about 1.5% from the sale to 28.16 on shares. So congratulations to Ziff Davis on that. If you want to read more on that, go over to Bloomberg.com. I probably didn't give it the best justice, so check it out over there. Moving over from there, the last article of the first part of the show, and this is over at NewYorkTimes.com. Of course, we're going to talk about CNet and CES. Well, one of their writers made a very big stink about it. His name is Greg Sandoval, and he was the senior writer, resigned in protest for what happened at CES. And because of that, a lot of people, that his name pretty much jumped up there. Well, The Verge saw that, and they were actually the first people to report that Greg Sandoval was leaving, and they offered him a job. So now Mr. Sandoval will be his senior reporter for The Verge when he starts in a couple of weeks. So congratulations to Greg Sandoval. Sometimes complaining really does make a difference, and go from there. And that does bring us to the end of part one. Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Do you like comment on any of the articles by twittering me over at Geekazine? Of course, geekazine@gmail.com. And the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, when we come back, we're going to get into part two, and then we're going to talk about what's happened over at CES with CNet, what that means for CNet, what that means for CBS, what that means for CES, and what means for any other acronym that I can put into there. And we will do that, and we'll be right back on Geek Smack. All right, and the second part of Geek Smack is brought to you by our friends over at Citrix and Go To My PC, where you know that horrible weather can severely affect your ability to get into the office, whether it be a road closure, maybe major traffic, maybe they closed down the city. That's actually happened already here in Madison, Wisconsin this year. Or the schools get closed, schools get delayed, and you can't get into work because you got to take care of the kids. Just because that happens doesn't mean that you can't go in the office and be productive. That's why I highly recommend Go To My PC by Citrix. You can access your entire office computer right from home, so you don't have to risk any dangerous commute, and of course, take care of the kids if you need to be, or worry about falling short on any project. Go To My PC is a secure remote access software that allows you to connect your office computer from any other computer or mobile device. You can access all of your work files, all of your programs, and network files from wherever you are and whenever you need to. So it can even be if it's 2:00 in the morning and you get a call saying we need this file, you can get that without having to trot into the office. So be prepared. Set up Go To My PC today. It takes a few minutes and it's so easy to use. I use it here. We used it at CES. I had to get some videos done, so I left my laptop at the hotel. And then I grabbed my iPad. I have the Go To My PC app on the iPad, and I controlled it right from there. And I was able to get into the computer and get work done without having to bring the computer. So check it out, my viewers and my listeners over at The Geek Smack. Try Go To My PC free for 30 days. For this special offer, visit gotomypc.com, click that Try It Free Now button, enter in the code PODCAST. Podcast gets you 30 days of this great software, and you can try it free, and free is good, as Andy McCaskey would say. So check it out. That's gotomypc.com. Try it free, promo code PODCAST. All right, let's get back into your show for today, and we're going to start back over at the New York Times. Long live Muzak! But Muzak is dead. Goodbye, Muzak. Do you know what Muzak is? If you've ever been in an elevator, you've probably heard Muzak. You know, like they go dun 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 dun. You know, that music that sounds like, oh wow, that sounds like a Michael Jackson song if an orchestra played it at a really soft pace and a really slower pace. And so yeah, basically that's what it is. Muzak is a company out of I believe Ontario. Yeah, Ontario, Canada. And so let me flip this over here really quick. So anyway, they had this name, and they've been Muzak for years. In fact, if you've ever gone, you either said elevator music or Muzak with a Z. Well, apparently Muzak is getting bought out to a company called Mood, and it's going to be incorporated into Mood, Mood. So now it'll be called Mood instead of Muzak, which I don't understand. I growing up, the word Muzak was the name. I don't understand why they can't just continue to use Muzak, because it's a more recognized name than Mood is. But they decided let's go with the Mood music. Maybe they should call it Mood Muzak. The best of both worlds. I don't know. So anyway, goodbye to Muzak. We've known you, but sorry, it's sad to see you go. Thanks to Scott Monty, who posted that up on social networking sites that I did find that. So of course, Scott Monty, social media manager over at Ford there. All right, for all you Star Wars fans, there's lots of rumors going on now that Lucasfilm has been bought by Disney. But one of the things is that they're going to plan a a sideshow, like on, I don't know if it's going to be on ABC. I want it to go on HBO or Showtime. Could you imagine a raw, more uh, grittier Star Wars TV show on an HBO or a Showtime, or even as an Amazon original or Netflix original, since they're getting into original programming? Could you imagine Yoda as a sailor mouth, beer drinking, pot smoking a Jedi master, and then he just lops off people's limbs? It would be gorier and bloodier, and he'd have a lot of sex. But hey, it would be a lot more fun. So HBO and Showtime, you should go for bids on that. But anyway, over on io9.com, they're talking about Yoda actually being the first standalone Star Wars movie that they could come around. So I guess I thought it was a TV show, but I guess it's a movie. But I still like the idea of it being a TV show. That, like for instance, Spartacus, and Stars has Spartacus, and that's coming out, I believe, this Friday. I don't have Stars, but when I did have Stars, I loved to watch that TV show, and it had a lot of gore, it had a lot of swearing, and it had a lot of sex. And I'm not watching it for those things. I'm watching it for the storylines, like I'm reading Playboys for the articles. The whole point is that would be kind of cool, is if we got away from this PC version of Star Wars and got into a more darker Star Wars, where, because people in a galaxy far, far away still had sex. They still did things like shoot people and kill people. It was probably a bloodier time too. So I'd make a series like that. But anyway, if you want to check out more on that, go over to io9.com. Yoda is the first movie. You'll find out the life of Yoda. That's pretty cool. So, all right, let's move on from there. We're going over to the dailycaller.com. Apparently, yesterday, this article came on, and I even watched it on HLN this morning, where they talked about how the FCC was going to try and get free Wi-Fi, a community-wide Wi-Fi, because the whole idea is that if you had something like that, it would be easier for kids to get on the internet so they could study. It'd be easier for people to use the internet so they can schedule appointments and stuff like that. Well, apparently the article was not 100%. And the Daily Caller, actually telecom analyst Jeffrey Eisenarch, decided, hey, this is not exactly what they were talking about. And so he's calling out the Washington Post and calling them to task on that. Now, the article itself is not correct, nor is it not incorrect. There is truth to the article. It's just that the Washington Post did not tell the whole truth. And that's what he's talking about here. It's basically, he basically calls it entirely fiction. It might still be like 90% fiction and 10% nonfiction. Yeah, the FCC wants to use the unused spectrum for Wi-Fi, but not as a super Wi-Fi thing. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. And a lot of people bit on that hook. I bit on that hook. I actually had it in the show notes to talk about that. And when I found out that Jeffrey Eisenarch was going to talk about it and say this is not 100% true, then I switched over to this article. So I almost did the same thing. But this is another one of those other articles that wasn't totally written correctly and thrown out there. So congratulations to Jeffrey Eisenarch for stepping up. And if you want to read more on that, go over to thedailycaller.com. All right, let's move over to a new website called Geek Tyrant. And the reason why is because if you are an NES geek, then you want to check this out. This is the table to have. It's the NES Table Bohemian Workbench that looks like an NES controller. And it's got all the buttons and stuff like that. I still can't determine whether it houses your NES systems, because it does look like it opens up. And it just looks like a regular table with an NES top, and then there's a glass overlay on that. It's got a wooden gun on the side, and so it's a nice showpiece. The only problem is, and this is over on it comes from an Etsy page. The only problem is it's $7,200. So if you've got $7,200 lying around, you could donate it to this show and be like a sponsor for this show, and I'd be very grateful for that. But yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool. It doesn't look like they use any screws or anything like that. They use the old where you glue you make the teeth and you glue it together. I know that there's a term for that, but it's escaping me right now. So, and of course, this is what it looks like totally with the glass top on. And I'd have that in my living room. I think that's pretty cool. So I don't think Jennifer would like it. I don't know. Maybe she would. Maybe she'd geek out on it. So check that out over at geektyrant.com through Etsy. All right. Good news, of course, you know that Anchorman 2 is coming out. Well, apparently Kristen Wiig has decided to join in on Anchorman 2. She is going to be joining the cast as the wife of Brick Tamlard. I don't remember which one was Brick Tamlard. But it's all rumor right now. But the only thing that they know is that she will be part of Anchorman 2. And I can't wait for Anchorman 2 to come out. That's going to be really cool. In fact, Conan just did his show Occupy Conan, which happened last week. And one of the scenes that they had people recreate, Occupy Conan, was where they had scenes up on the internet and they told you to recreate the scene. And then they could use your scene in that bit. And what they did was they did a big mashup of all the scenes and tried to get as many creators in there as possible. And of course, they did the Anchorman when Will Ferrell came out to Conan and announced that Anchorman 2 would officially be produced. And it was pretty cool. I was really geeking out when that happened. I don't normally watch Conan, and I actually, after that episode, I started watching Conan a lot more. So pretty cool news. So congratulations to Kristen Wiig. I think she'll be a great addition to Anchorman. Wasn't a big fan of Bridesmaids, but I'm glad she's there. Speaking of movies, have you guys seen Warm Bodies yet? Oh my gosh, that is an awesome movie. I think it's a really cool movie. Not to spoil anything, I'm calling it When Romeo and Juliet Meet Pinocchio, like that. And if you're a big zombie fan, this actually changes thoughts on zombies and ideals on zombies. So you might want to check it out. Warm Bodies is the movie, and it did $20 million this last weekend, so pretty impressive to be the number one in the box office. But of course, it's also February box office, which means that not the best movies come out at that time. So anyway, let's move on from there. Let me know if you've seen Warm Bodies by tweeting me over at Geekazine or geekazine@gmail.com. All right, we've talked about this in the past. Well, I called it an emulator. It's called Wine, and it's for Android, and it's to allow you to run some of Microsoft programs onto the Android system. So, well, and then they came back and they say, hey, we're not an emulator. We're coming to Android. We've got the Windows We're working on the Windows compatibility layer. And of course, I think they're also on iOS already. I'm just looking through really quick, and they do have they did use a Mac OS to run Android to run a Windows compatibility layer. So this would be actually pretty cool. Right now, the only way to actually get a Windows experience on an Android or an iOS is to actually run an app that's like, for instance, I talked about one on iPad 365, which basically was an emulator went into a server that actually pulled up a Windows. So you'd need to have Wi-Fi or a 4G service going on. So, but if you want to check this out, go over to androidpolice.com, brand new website. Once again, if you see any problems, let me know and we'll change the link. All right, last part of part 2, and then we're going to get you into the main story. There are 8 characters on your computer if you have a Mac that will crash your Mac. 8 characters. And this is over at thenextweb.com. If you type in file : / you will into almost any app on your Mac, it will crash. And I have not tested this yet. I'm not going to test it right now because I'm recording off the main machine. So if you have to type in file : / which is a Windows thing, I do that all the time. But if you do that on Mac, you can crash your Mac. Pretty interesting. So if you want to read more on that, that's over at thenextweb.com. That does bring us to the end of part 2. What'd you think? Let me know on any of the articles by twittering me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com, and the hidden hotline at 608-205-4378. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on with CNet, CBS, and CES, and we will do that next. If you've got a mobile smartphone, if you've got a tablet, you know that they cost a lot of money. And if you break one of those devices, you know they cost even more money. You know, a $200 iPhone becomes a $700 iPhone. A $500, well, a $500 iPad still is a $500 iPad. But you don't want to, you want to protect so you don't crack your screen. You want to protect so you don't dent the edges. And that's where Zagg comes in. Zagg has a lot of cool stuff to help protect your smartphone, your mobile device, your tablet from breaking if you accidentally drop it. And people drop their devices every day. I actually dropped my iPhone last week, and it was in a snowbank, which is pretty cool. But you know, I've dropped my iPad several times. One time I was running for the train in San Francisco, and my backpack unzipped and just boop out like that. And if it wasn't for the Zagg folio case, I would have had a dent and a crack in my iPad easily. But instead, I have a little smudge on my folio case, and it still works. And so that's why you need to protect your devices. You pay a lot of money for them. You should be able to have them for the time that you have them. Check it out. Zagg has a lot of cool stuff, including the invisible shield for all of your smartphones and all of your tablets as well. They also have the folio case, which now with the Apple TV, you get the Bluetooth keyboard. You can actually hook that up to the Apple TV to use. But you can also use it for your iPad to kind of turn it into like a little laptop or anything like that. And of course, they have styluses. They have the Zagg Spark, which is this thing right here, which allows you to plug in when you don't have a plug and charge up your device when you don't have any power to charge it up. Check it out. Go over to geekazine.com/Zagg, geekazine.com/ZAGG, and go in during checkout. Use the code Geekazine. You'll get 20% off of certain items, and that's all over at Zagg, over at geekazine.com/Zagg. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know, so CBS is in litigation with Dish Networks over their DVR called Sling. It's a product that's in what's another product called the Hoppa. So you have the Hoppa with Sling. So that's basically where that's coming. The technology is basically a technology that skips commercials. Now, the Hopper won Best of Show at CES, and CNet governs the whole CES awards. They've been doing it for years. And they announced the Hopper had won, but CBS didn't want that to happen. So they went to and told CNet to retract the award. And of course, CNet being a subsidiary of CBS, they do what the parent company does, tells them to do. And so they said, well, we've got to take that back. That's where it all began. Since then, we talked about Greg Sandoval leaving CNet over the CES controversy. CNet has basically fired CBS and CNet from CES, or overlooking the awards basically for that. They reestablished the Hoppa as the best of show for CES, and congratulations to Dish and the Hoppa, because I just like saying the Hoppa. So now CEA had an obligation to fix this, which they did. They kind of lost a big partner in CBS, but felt the integrity of the award was more important, and I completely agree. This might just change the dynamic of CES for 2014. Now, CNet took up a good chunk of the front of CES, and they did a lot of media coverage for CES. While they only lost the ability to grant the award, they can still come in and they can still cover CES. The question is, will they come in to cover CES? Will they just bring 3 or 4 interns and say, okay, this is what CES is like? Or will they actually have a front of house like they normally do at CES? This could mean very big bucks lost simply because CBS was there. With the recent loss of Microsoft last year, many were wondering if CES could actually continue as the top trade show, and they proved it. They proved it by becoming they basically broke the record in attendance for this year, and Hisense just took over the booth. That was it. So can they do it again with this controversy in shadow? I think they can. And the reason why is simply because of the fact they restored the award to Dish and the Hapa, and then they took away basically the award ceremony part from CNet, which means there's room for other companies to come in and pick that up and take that ball back off and running. Now, it doesn't sound like network TV is gonna, or anything that's backed by network TV is gonna take that up, because they have a problem with the slang because they want people to see commercials. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but they probably did lose major network coverage with CBS. But is there a better choice? I know Engadget did a pretty good job. We did a pretty good job at CES. We did a lot of coverage, so we could easily pick that and govern the awards ceremony. I'm just saying, we could do it. I think we could. We get a couple more people to be on our team, but we could do it. So, anyway, what do you think? Did you think that CES made the right move? CEA made the right move? Do you think that CNet has lost their integrity? Do you not go to CNet's websites anymore? Let me know. Twitter me at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com. And the hotline is 608-205-4378. That does it for this episode of Geek Smack. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. Let me know, once again, your feedback is what feeds this show. So if there's something that you want to tell me, if there's something that's bothering you about the show, please let me know, and Twitter me and email me and call me, and we'll get it fixed. We'll try and make it happen for you. So in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching. You guys geek out. Once again, we will be back next Tuesday with another episode of the Geek Smack. Also watch iPad 365. And of course, like I said, all the CES action. And then, of course, HP TechCast, which will be up probably on Friday because we're recording on Thursday. All right, my name is Jeffrey Powers. You guys take care, and we'll see you next week on the Geek Smack.